Hello, welcome to MVP. This is a mic test for Roy. Can you hear me? Okay, so we're here for round one, Albert Park. This is League of MVP. We're just rolling with some technical issues, and my name's Mike, otherwise known as Team Red 47, previous driver in the MVP League. And we're here after a bit of a fraught off season. Obviously, the new game, the F1 24, has been quite polarising, and unfortunately, this has led to a few less drivers than we would normally have. We didn't have enough time to fill the grid before we've started, so because of that, we've opted for a shorter season. So only 10 seconds to go until we move into qualifying. I will go over the teams and drivers. So driving for Red Bull, we've got Thomas DG, Techno This, I'm going to go with that. We've got Smidge, Dark Angel in Ferrari, Roy and Swampy in McLaren, David and Mrs. Fan, aka Josh, in the Aston Martin, Snoopy Dread, Beat Process in Alpine, Supernova, and a new driver Ethan in Mercedes. We've got them Beat and Sign and Ranger in the Haas, and Hammy Little and Mamba Strike, which is my previous teammate, in the Williams. Reserve drivers for this season are AJ Mando, previous MVP champion, Burmeister, and Cami. So I'm here today to stand in for our usual commentator, Cam. I could really do with him here right now, but I'm just going to roll with it. It's my first time commentating on any sort of league race. So bear with me if I can't think of what to say for a while. But here we go, moving to Q1. Obviously got a rainy session. That was always going to be a risk on the Australian track. Victoria, I believe, it's a state of where you'll see all four seasons in a day. And we're seeing a pretty rainy season right here. think, judging by the amount of rain, we're going to see most of the drivers going out on intermediate tyres. A lot of them might opt to fuel for a few extra laps. Sometimes it can be beneficial to go out there and just put the laps in, just see if the track improves as you're going round. So we might see that. We've got the first car heading out onto the track now. We've got both of the Hasses and an Aston Martin. And now Roy from the McLarens has headed out. Here we are with unbeaten sign in the Haas. He's just on his outlap. The other drivers on their outlap are Ranger, Techno, Roy, David, Thomas, Mamba, and Mrs. Pham, aka Josh. Josh has joined David again as his teammate. David, obviously, I think the man with the most MVP championships, so obviously running into any season we'd expect him to be right up there, if not winning. In recent seasons we had AJ, who's standing as a reserve. He was probably the closest competition to David for the first seasons I raced at MVP. But in season 9 we saw a lot of other guys near the top. Speaking of which, someone else to look out for here is URL Ethan. I've witnessed this guy race in other leagues. Historically, very quick. Apparently he's been claiming he's not as quick these days, thus he can deign to race with us guys in MVP. This looks like Ranger on a push lap. We'll follow him round. I believe he is one of the new guys. And almost lost the back end there coming through the chicane. Down here we've got a really long straight leading to a sharp right, if I remember correctly. And we'll just move that box out of the way so we can see. Come up to another sharp right, and then into the penultimate corner. An awkward left where you really struggle with getting your power down. If you do that too much, you're going to lose the back end, you're going to spin. But it's also important to carry enough momentum down here, because all the time will be gained along the start-finish straight. And that's a lap for Ranger with a 1:28.57. David, of course, shooting up to the top of the timing charts. It's what we'd expect. Let's see if what kind of competition he's going to have for this season. I think, although how representative that'll be in the rain, I'm not sure. Yeah, so apologies. We seem to have some issues where the chat is disabled for YouTube. We're not sure why that is. It might be something to do with crossing the stream information onto my setup. So we'll try and fix that for the next round. But if you want to make any comments, you can do it in the MVP chat on Discord, or just DM me directly and I'll try and pick that up. On board with Mamba. He was really, he had a really good pace last season, so I would be expecting him to be somewhere at the pointy end of this grid if he's done enough practice in the off season. Hats off to Cam, who normally does the commentary. This is, I have to say, way harder than it looks, but I'm just going to keep muddling on. I think good idea. Let's get the track map up. And Mamba moves himself into 3rd position. That's it's great news for the now Williams driver. His teammate Hammy yet to set a lap. Again, one of the quicker guys. I mean, a lot like real life, I would say. Last season, much like the real life F1 this season, we had a lot of guys all sort of fighting for the top. Not such a big skill gap between the top 2 or 3 and the rest of the field. In fact, everyone had got a lot closer. So it'll be interesting to see, now that the game's changed, now that the handling model's changed, it'll be interesting to see where everyone stacks up. And unfortunately it's raining, so it might not be totally representative, like I say, but it'll give us a good idea who's got the hang of this. So interesting, we haven't seen a lap yet from Smidge, Snoopy, Swampy, Dark Angel, Roy or Ethan. I mean, these guys are, Smidge obviously about to finish his lap. That's an awkward little chicane here, but a really long, it's almost a straight but not quite. It's just a big long curve to the right, the left, and then into a really high speed chicane, which is very tricky. On the previous games, if you got these curves wrong, you would go flying, and I imagine it's much the same on the new game. I haven't had much experience with it myself. And there he comes, the ultimate corner. Tricky little left. Maximising his traction all the way around. Final corner onto the start finish straight. Arguably not using as much track as he could, but let's see what sort of lap he gets. The 128.8 for Smidge, and that puts him in 12th position. In the meantime, Roy has managed to slide himself into 8th position with his teammate. Ooh, just a few hundredths of a second ahead in 7th. And still leading the way is David, who's now in the pits. There we go, I can see the sex times now. Oh, and that's Hammy just flies into 1st position. That is quite a lap and very close to David, so it seems we could have some racing on our hands here today. This is your early Ethan, an exciting addition to MVP. Let's see if the reputation that precedes him amounts to anything. What are we expecting here? Oh no, there's a crash car there, yellow flag. That could affect his lap time. If it doesn't, the stewards might be asking some questions. Ethan's going to come up to the fast chicane. Handles it nicely. Hits the curves tentatively with the rain. He's got traffic ahead. A little lock of the brakes. I don't know if that's just a gameplay glitch or if he is actually not running ABS, and it was in fact a little lock-up. Didn't seem too damaging, but no, he's given up on the lap. He's given up on the lap. So recharging his DRS, his ERS even, and here he goes for another attempt. Let's watch this. Coming into turn 1 and 2, like one of the many fast chicanes on the track. Very treacherous in the rain. Seems to be handling it nicely. Full power down the next straight. Into turn 3 and 4. And then we'll see how much traction he can get around turn 5. This is a very difficult right-hander, and he's taken that a bit wide there. That could affect his time. I think we could expect better things from Ethan going forwards, because I know this guy has a lot of skill. He's joined many of the 5-lap lobbies that have been hosted by MvP, and generally finishes really well, but I don't think he's been keeping up so much with everyone in the off-season. So Hammy Little now into the top spot. That's yet another fastest lap. So taking it all the way down into the low, well, 26.0, 7 tenths above David DePay. Interesting. And Roy has slipped himself into 4th. His teammate slowly getting shuffled down the grid into 12th. Right now we've got Smidge, looks to be on a hot lap. Oh no, not on an in-lap, on a very fast in-lap, my apologies. It's really hard to keep up with this. And this is certainly Ethan on a hot lap, judging by his ERS usage there. Carefully over the wet curves into the dicey chicane, where I accidentally smashed into the back of Limitless. I remember that one. And here he goes, flying into, I believe it's turns 9 and 10. Anything could happen here, and it does. Unfortunately, it looked like a little rear lockup, slid wide, and ultimately he couldn't get around to the next corner, to the apex of turn 10. Cut the curb, and unfortunately that's another attempt out of the window. Supernova on a push lap. And no, he's bailed out. It's almost like everyone's listening, and every time I mention their name they decide to stop. I don't know if there's some damage here. Oh no, he's making room for the traffic, so it looks like he's going to go again. As I said, a lot of these guys will fuel up for a lot of laps and just try and stay out there while the track dries. In the rain you don't tend to get as much sort of track wear, so it makes sense to do that. Supernova coming up to line. And these guys have got another 2 minutes and 40 seconds to get in that one fast lap, that one lap they're going to be happy with. In the meantime, I've missed it, but David has slipped himself into first. A real battle between these two at the front. Unbeaten sign, picking up top 3 places. Oh, this is just dicey, isn't it? On a fast lap, having to deal with traffic off the track, now traffic on the track in front of him. Maybe he'll get a bit of a tow down here. It looks like both cars could be on a fast lap. Is Ranger doing well to deal with the pressure of all this traffic, the wet conditions, and really wanting to improve his performance? Here we come round the last corner, get another tow by the McLaren in front. And Ranger into 4th position, brilliant. That was a great lap. Just great that he could deal with all that traffic and still keep his head. I know I couldn't. Not sure what's happened here. It's very busy on track. I think we've got most of the cars out now. All but Mbid Prime? Mbid Prime. Let's just go with Prime on that one. Interesting, and so let's see where the new guys are. Looking at Ranger in 4th place. The new drivers doing their league debut tonight, so we've got Ranger in 4th. We have got Ethan down in 11th, surprisingly. Techno is in 14th, and Dark Angel 16th. So not a bad first time out for the new recruits, and Ranger doing particularly well. Now shuffled down to 6th place. Hammy slots into 1st once again. So we've got the end of Q1. Is there room for someone else to set a fast time? Maybe Smidge. He's still trying. No, it's not going to happen. And where's David? He is 0.02 seconds up. And he's done it. He has slipped over the line. Nearly 2/10 ahead. So that's your pole position is David Depay. As we were saying, he's a very difficult guy to beat in MVP. And it looks like he's been getting his practice in the off-season. 2nd place is Hammy. 3rd, URL Ethan. Wow, didn't see that coming. Mamba 4th, Josh 5th. Ranger in 6th. Excellent. 1st qualifying for him for MVP. 7th is Smidge. 8th is Thomas. 9th unbeaten. 10th is Roy. And that's the top 10 for this race start. I'm just going to have a little break and I'll be right back with you. Welcome back. We're just getting ready for the race. I believe with MVP we don't have the formation lap, so this will probably start in a little bit of a hurry. So it could be, and unfortunately it's raining again. Unfortunately, I don't have access to any of the weather information, so I'm not sure how long this rain's going to stay around. If anyone does have that information, will you let me know? But as it stands, yeah, I'm not sure what the forecast is. Here we go. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and we're away. Possible race strategy showing right at possibly the wrong time. But here we go. We've got David, hits first corner, first place, close followed by Hammy and Ethan. So far so good, with the rest of the field staying quite clean. So we've got the 2 Williams blocking out the rest of the field from David. His teammate Josh in 6th position. He's going to have some work to do. He'll want to be up there with David. Ultimately, Josh on his day, he's got good pace. He's perhaps not the most consistent racer, but he is a fast guy, and if he can keep all 4 wheels on the tarmac facing the right way, I think he could work his way further up the field. So we've got Ethan now looking frisky. I take back everything I said in qualifying. He was certainly sandbagging. Oh no! And we've had a collision. What a nightmare. I couldn't tell you who that was. So that's really shuffled the grid up here. So we've still got David followed by the 2 Williams. We've still got Ethan in 4th, but having dropped now 2.7 seconds down, thought somewhere in the melee we've got Roy, Snoopy, Smidge and Ranger just swapping positions now. There just seems to be a lot of really close battles going on right now. We've got Thomas battling Ranger for 8th. He's obviously not had the best start. Let's go and check out the position changes. So we've got Mamba up 1, Ethan down 1, Roy up 5 positions, got Snoopy up 6. These two, from what I believe in the pre-race, have been a similar speed, have Roy and Snoop. So, yeah, things should get a bit more frisky between those guys later. Following those, we've got Smidge in 8th. Oh, and now we have Smidge in 9th. Somehow all 3 cars have swapped positions there. We'll ride on board with Smidge for a bit. And there's a real 3-way battle going on between Thomas, Ranger and Snoopy up ahead. Is Snoopy a bit of a cork in the bottle here? I think he is. So they are all going to be in a rush to get past. It just depends if our man Snoopy Dread has the speed on the straights enough to keep them behind. Obviously no DRS with it being with it raining, so it's going to make it a lot harder for these guys on Snoopy's rear wing to make any headway. Meanwhile, at the front, looks like Hammy's closing in on David. So I think historically we'd have seen David walking away with a lot of these races. These days there is a lot more talent in the league, and obviously Hammy is not scared to stick to the gearbox of David to pay. So now the race has settled down. The main battle is for P1. Further down the grid there's been a bit of shuffling around, but everyone's sort of found their rhythm now. Got a bit of action down in 8th and 9th here. Oh, 3 cars, line astern, with Supernova attempting an overtake here on Snoopy, and he has made it stick. Taking the Mercedes into 8th position, his teammate in 4th. This is going to be a strong showing for Mercedes so far. Not so strong as the Williams, which are just killing it in the top 3 right now. Hammy's drifted just a little bit away from David. So the thing with racing in these conditions, it requires so much concentration. One slip up, you're going to drop a tenth, 2 tenths, and obviously with the guys racing, doing their laps within those 2 tenths, that can make a huge difference. But Hammy really sticking to the back of David right now. So down the grid in 11th position is Sondre. Good to see him back on the track. Feel like I haven't seen these guys in a long time. We had a bit of a delayed start to this season, what with the driver recruitments and everything. So it's good to see them all going. But I know that Sondre won't be happy about his position on track right now. He'll want to be right up there with Roy. Those guys are quite evenly matched when it comes to pace. So he'll be looking at working his way through if that's possible. Snoop coming back on Supernova, looking for a little bit of redemption. Unfortunately, you can't do it there. And Mrs. Fan, Josh, all the way down, lost 11 places. I wonder if these 2 guys had a bit of a coming together. Apologies if I missed that. Supernova, Snoopy Dread, but meanwhile Hammy is all over David Ken within a tenth of a second there. We need to see how this race unfolds. He is really sticking it to David. Gives him a little nudge in the rear. Ooh, we don't want to see that happen too hard. We want a good race all the way to the end here. Hammy really going for it. Not scared to intimidate the multiple MVP champion David. He is really sticking it to him. But will he be able to pressurise David into a mistake? Well, I'm not so sure. He's quite unflappable. Saying that though, we've got 4 cars now in the battle for first. Ethan's slowly clawing his way up there, finding his pace bit by bit. Dangerous to have this guy in the league. If he really gets into his groove here, there's gonna be some fireworks. Roy, unfortunately, I think an incident early in the race that's left him slightly adrift of the race for the front. But everyone else, we're a sort of race of 2 parts here. And we've got Mamba now taking 2nd place from his teammate. Ethan now within a couple of tenths. We've got one of the Williams into the pit. That's Hammy. Hammy slipped into the pit. He is probably opting for the 2 stop, I would assume. Roy follows him in. Let's see what the other guys do up front. I wonder if there's been some sort of team coordination there between Mamba and Hammy. I imagine the guys will have been talking, and they'll be making sure they didn't hit the pit box at the same time. That would have been... They would have ended up tripping over each other and losing time for the 2nd car, no doubt. So I imagine this will be somewhat orchestrated, unless they're totally splitting the strategies. Mamba unleashed but not gaining now on David. It looks like he's found a little bit of extra pace. The Williams that were closing in no longer. Maybe their tyres have gone off a bit faster. Maybe David's doing a better job of looking after those. But meanwhile, Ethan looking dangerous on the gearbox of Mamba. So, with the grid shuffling around now, a few people going in the pit. We've got Ranger up in 4th. It will be interesting to see what we've got pit stop wise going on. So all the guys moving to dry tyres, so we can expect to see the positions changed around significantly. If one way or another, if it was too early for the dry tyre, they could have quite a disadvantage, and if it was too late, the same. Into the pits goes Ranger, following in Supernova, following Ethan, following Mamba. If I didn't know better, I'd say all these guys are already knew they were doing this. So everyone's had one stop except Josh and Unbeaten. And now that everyone's pitted, we can see how the field has fanned out. So we've got David still in first place, Mamba nearly half a second behind, Ethan further behind again, and Hammy, Roy and Smidge sort of drifting off the top few there. Everyone on relatively new dry tyres. It'll be interesting to see how far these guys are able to go. Oh, Sandre. He has got Prime behind him now. Oh, there's a very close three-way battle between these drivers. Oh, and a little bit of wheel bumping between the Ferrari and the Alpine. And, oh, this is a really close race. Meanwhile, Supernova behind both, hoping to capitalise on some kind of disaster. And he has taken one of the places away. Meanwhile, we've got Thomas right on Swampy's gearbox. And the yellow flag somewhere in Sector 1. And unfortunately, we've got Unbeaten sign way down the grid. That's I assume he'll have had some damage there. Supernova and Dark Angel still going at it. Mercedes versus Ferrari. So far, Mercedes are able to just stay ahead. But it's going to be a long race for these guys. Let's come back to that. So Mamba now's taken the lead of the race. Really on fire. Loving the dry conditions. It could have all changed. Obviously a lot of people will have opted, in the hope that it's going to be a dry race, they'll have opted for a more dry setup. Once the part firme conditions start, then once you've made your qualifying setup, you have to carry it through to the race, and that means that if your qualifier is raining and you've got a dry setup, then obviously it's not going to be quite as easy to handle a car. And Ethan, first place now. Well, don't say I didn't warn you. There he is. Into the lead, and now pulling quite a comfortable gap. 0.8 of a second now in front of Mamba. David trailing a second behind still. And Thomas coming up to the back of the McLaren, driven by Sondre. Looks like he is ready to make a move if he can get close enough before a DRS zone. Here we go, Ferrari and Red Bull. Let's take a look at some of these penalties. So we've got Dark Angel on 3 second penalty and Josh behind him on 3 seconds. So unfortunately for Dark Angel, if he wants to improve his position and get into the points, he has to overcome that penalty. But right at the front, it's game on again. Mamba now takes the lead. Ethan right on his tail. This is going to be a battle to the end of the race, it seems. David, unsure why, just a little bit off the pace. Over a second behind now. Meanwhile, we've got Sondre on the gearbox of Thomas. I assume he's just made the overtake there. But overall, it's been a cleanish race. I think we missed some of the action at the back that's maybe Sign was involved in back there in 16th, way off the pace and praying for a safety car, which ironically probably won't be coming now everyone's settled down. So that's unfortunate for him. Ethan, the gap's coming back down again. Mamba really picking up the pace. David also, so it looks like maybe Ethan's made a mistake somewhere. These two being able to close up as much as they have. Roy, unfortunately, in 5th, having picked up a 3 second penalty. Obviously, you know, you're coming back from into the new game, new handling model, racing with these guys for one of the first times with the new cars, with the new tracks. It's expected that track limits are going to be exploited a little bit and unfortunately penalised. But still a good showing from Roy on the first race out to be up there in the McLaren. I think Ethan, great debut race for him. I'm sure he'll be very happy with that. Mamba doing well to keep pace, and David, as ever, not wanting to be shaken from any of the top positions, so he will be on a mission. I think one thing about David, since probably the first time I raced with him, he's settled down, maybe not quite as aggressive as he used to be, and probably for the better, because the guy's got enough skill to cleanly get past these guys, and that's what I'm sure he'll be aiming to do. So Smidge now with a 3 second time penalty. Unfortunately, a lot of these guys are gonna have their positions shuffled around. So 2 drivers without penalties, however, with the Red Bull of Thomas, McLaren of Sondre. Still having a very heated battle for the final points on the points table. I think there's been some discussion about having the points go through more than 10 positions. I believe it's something going on in the background that it was considered and might be voted on. So I'll get up to speed on that and let you know. Mamba now. Oh, Ethan back in the lead. It's just non-stop with these three. And Supernova out. What does this mean? Are we looking at a safety car? And he has disappeared. Still just looking like yellow flags in Sector 2. His car just stranded somewhere, potentially off track. Let's find a car that's going past the crash site now. And no safety car, unfortunately for the sign. And Dark Angel. Here we go, great battle at the front. All of the cars now with DRS apart from the leader Mamba. So this is going to be shaken up more than once before the end of the race. Three of the best drivers in the league. And we can see why. Some way ahead. Hammy somehow having drifted apart from the first gaggle of cars. Might yet claw his way back. Because there's no way these guys can be battling this hard and not losing time. So I imagine Hammy, as long as he doesn't have damage, he could be back in the mix. This could be a four-way race for first position. And that was a very chancy move by Ethan, executed to perfection as he came around the inside into turns 9 and 10 around the chicane and takes a flying exit from the chicane to extend his gap to Mamba. This means there's pressure from David now behind, and he edges into second place for just a brief moment and has to slot back into third again. But what a great race, what great driving. There was great respect from both drivers there, and this is looking pretty spicy for first position right now. On board with Mamba, we can see how close he's getting. Ethan losing the back end a bit there again. Roy, I think, issued with another time penalty while we're talking, but oh, there goes Ethan. Oh, that was a little bit like weaving, but maybe not weaving as he came through that chicane. It was just before hitting the chicane, whether it was a loss of traction or what, I don't know, but it's put Mamba out of his stride. David's now taking second position from him, and he will be bearing down on Ethan now with the DRS. Mamba just slipping back ever so slightly. David now coming up to the end of the lap. Right on the gearbox of Ethan. I have a feeling he's going to put a move in down here on the start-finish straight. If you're going to do it anywhere, it'll be here. But all three drivers will probably be hard on their ERS right now, and unable to make it stick. It's a bit of a cat and mouse game here, but Ethan doing well to stay in front with no DRS, but here they have a second chance. Both David and Mamba. Ooh. Not the most aggressive racing, so this is good. It's been nice and tidy. I imagine these guys want to keep their distance from the next few cars behind. There's a neat little buffer there with the other Williams of Hammy, separating Mamba from the rest of the grid. So he's in a pretty secure position. He's in the position where there's everything to gain now. So he can be the hunter, David and Ethan becoming the hunted. Meanwhile, down in the rest of the race, we've got a big spread on interval times between all the drivers. Probably not so much going back. And we've got a VSC. What's caused that? What has caused that? We've got is this a missing front wing on Prime? Could be something to do with that, but we have got a virtual safety car. So let's see if anyone pits. I imagine they're going to need another set of tyres. Let's have a look. We've got Mamba and Hammy in the pits, both thinking the same thing. They've got to pit again. It may as well be joining a virtual safety car. Surely someone else will follow the lead. Yes, we've got Roy into the pit. We've got Snoop into the pit. Ranger in. Virtual safety car is going to be ended. Only a few of these guys are going to get the advantage from that. And a very messy Haas pulls into the pits here. So not ideal for Williams, but in the end it worked out alright, but they had to double stack. Again, I imagine great communication between the team there. David right behind Ethan. Let's have a look at the tyre changes so we can see what everyone's done. So we have on new tyres, we've got 2 Williams. So Ethan and David opted to stay out. We've got Mamba and Hammy on new mediums. So the 2 Williams on mediums. We've got Roy, new mediums. New hards on Smidge. Ranger, Snoopy, Thomas, Prime, Sign, and Sondre all opt into pit. Sorry, not Sondre, he's already done that. So anyone who could has sort of capitalised on the safety car for their pit stop. So now it should be just a straight race to the end. I have no idea what I'm doing there. So we're back at it. Ethan leading David. I think this, judging by the way this is played out, I'd say these 2 have the best chance of a win. I mean, we're looking that Mamba and Hammy have to put in some serious lap times here to close the gap in the next line laps. And here goes David taking the lead of the race, still with DRS. Let's see how fast he can hit this chicane. A lovely job, and stays in the lead with a double dose of DRS just to help him stay in front. Ethan's still hot on his tail despite not having the DRS, but able to utilise slipstream there. Mamba and Hammy, that was a very bold call in the end, with the other 2 guys not having pitted, and they have a long way to go to catch up, if indeed David and Ethan don't pit. There is no obligation to pit, of course, because we've had rain and they've been on wet tyres, so there is no obligation to pit again. But with 8 laps to go, it's can they hang on, and we'll have a look at the lap time differences, if I can just get on Race Director. So we've got David's last few lap times in the sort of, we've got in a 119.8. So let's have a look. As they're still going at it, hammer and tongue. Ethan back in the lead now. I'll maybe just stay on here while the racing's going on. So now Ethan's just sort of taking a bit of a lead here. I don't know what the issue is with David. Has he got damage? Or has he just made a slight error on a corner which has cost him some time? Wouldn't be surprising if... wouldn't be surprising depending on what's happening with his tyres here. So yeah, 14 laps old, hard tyres for both of them. They're not going to be so easy to deal with, but in the last 2 laps or so, Mamba taking roughly 3 seconds a lap away from the top 2. So there is a chance if he can keep up that pace of getting somewhere up near the leaders. But these guys now, Ethan and David, both need to drive very consistently, look after the tyres, and most importantly, don't spin. Ethan now comfortably pulling away from David. I think it's helped to be clear of the DRS, but either way, both drivers very consistent running up front. Mamba another lap, another second. It was a very optimistic call in hindsight. It wasn't clear at the time. I can understand why they took that. If it had evolved into something more like a safety car as well, we would have had a lot of cars then bunching up, and you would be better off on the newer tyre. But in this instance, Ethan and David have both opted to run to the end of the race, it seems, on their tyres, and so far it seems to be working out for them. Roy as well, I believe, having changed to the newer tyre onto the medium. A good distance behind. Unfortunately, the midfield riddled with penalties, which is going to cause some confusion at the end of the race. Wow, so we've got Roy on 6 seconds, Snoopy on 9 seconds. That's going to push him down from his current track position. We've got Ranger on 3, Midge on 3, Josh on 6, Techno, Dark Angel, Prime, Swampy 3, 9, 6 and 3 respectively. So, like I said, to be expected really. That's going to happen on the first race. You'd expect a lot of people with a lot of penalties, especially on a track that's this difficult. People not yet quite comfortable with the setup of the cars. So, it doesn't surprise me all that much. So track position not exactly representative of where everyone's going to finish here. I'm already at maximum bandwidth trying to talk all the time, so I'm not going to be able to work that out. But I think really this is going to give us the on-track position. I think is a fair representation here of where we're expecting some people to be. Obviously, some people have had an unusually unfortunate race, like Sanjay. Not expecting to see him down in last position at the minute, so I can only assume he's had some dramas. Yeah. So we've got Smidge now at 8th place. Snoopy very close to Ranger in front. Ranger having done great for his debut race. What a great job. Also, obviously, Ethan, his debut race, and he's winning. I don't think there'll be too many people surprised with that, but it's good to have him on board. And he is going to put the fight to the top running guys. We are obviously missing a few of those. So we've got obviously we've got AJ, who was AJ Mando, who we were hoping was going to be able to race, but he's standing in as reserve this season, and he's one of the fast guys missing from the action right now, along with Mark, lazy but talented, and I see we don't have Seb either, Awichi. So we're missing a few of the fast names, some of the fast guys, but I mean, this just shows you how competitive the season's going to be when everyone's racing together, because we've got people like Ethan, David, Mamba, Hammy, Roy, Ranger, all around about there. Obviously, Josh, a really fast driver when everything's coming together for him. So we have got the potential here at MvP of some really good races. Nice, clean races with plenty of action, plenty of overtaking, really close times. I mean, just like last season, it was all really close, and it looks like that trend's going to continue. I think maybe the season 11, which will come the second half of this year, we will see even more people up there at the top sort of pace, and it's going to get wild, I think. Do a lap on board with David. You can see Ethan just at the distance. Can't seem to bring the time down. He's somewhere hovering around the 1.5 seconds now for a while. Coming into corners 9 and 10, I believe something called the weight stand is on that corner, and it's supposed to be the most spectacular position to watch the race from, and not surprising really when you consider how fast the cars go through there. And another lock-up from Ethan. Got to watch those tyres. As far as I'm aware, David is running ABS, but I don't know. A lot of people changed what they were running in terms of assists. I think for the next race, I'd like to find that information out, and we can compare how that affects the drivers' driving styles. Meanwhile, a bit of action down here with Roy and Smidge and Ranger. So let's have a look at these. Oh, four cars together. Penalties aside, let's just see how they drive. Alpine coming up now on Ranger, really hustling the half, really hoping to get up there. I mean, Snoopy's got a lot of time penalty there with 9 seconds, Roy just with 6. It's all backwards. Neither of these guys really need to overtake each other. So you know, and even if Snoopy overtakes Ranger, they're going to be behind, but the battle on track is fascinating. David's still sort of hanging that 1.7 seconds away from Ethan. These guys sort of very close in pace. Mamba having a bit of a mare, having picked up a 3-second penalty, now 9 seconds off the pace of the front runners, when in the wet conditions he was right there, and I suppose that's what I mean with the wet weather setup, perhaps. Mamba, perhaps both Williams running a bit more of a wet setup, that when the conditions became dry, Ethan and David's setups perhaps come into play a little bit more there. Snoopy now overtakes a Haas to 5th position. but not really. It's certainly not a net 5th. Roy keeping it in the mix. So Snoopy has passed Ranger, he's on his way. Roy's now hounding him. Is it damage? Is it his worn out tyres? We've got Smidge as well, hoping to capitalise on Ranger's drop of momentum. So here we go with the tyres, all very similar. The top 2 guys now having finished the race. Here they go, totally missed that, but well done Ethan. Followed by David in 2nd position. Mamba and Hammy swapping positions due to penalties and putting Hammy in 3rd position at the end of the race, and his teammate in the other Williams there. I think the guys were a victim of their cunning strategy, which turned out to not fall in their favour so much, but it was a difficult call. These guys know what they're doing, so if they thought that that was that could have benefited them, then it was right, and if they had a safety car, it probably would have been the right tyre to be on as well. It was worth the gamble to sort of pass the past 2 guys at the front there. We've got Ranger 5th, Smidge 6th, 7th is Roy, followed by Snoopy. Now all the penalties are sort of unfolding themselves. We've got Thomas in 9th and Techno bringing up the top 10. Unfortunately falling outside the points, we've got Josh, Dark Angel and Sondre. Unfortunately for those guys, all on the softs. I'm not sure what they were looking for there. Maybe they were repaired some damage. That was the best tyre to be on, but that's how it went. So now I just need to find out if we're doing any interviews. Let's see what the boss says. Well done to the top 3. I need to send them invites. How do I do this? So we've got Ethan, David and Hammy. Really well done to the top 3 there. We've got Mamba in 4th, Ranger, Smidge, Royal, Snoopy, Thomas, Techno, Josh, and that's Dark Angel, Sondre and Prime. The 14 finishes of the race. Really well done. I'll see if I can get a couple of guys in the party, see if they want to come in for a quick chat before we sign off. I've sent David an invite. Let's see if we can get the other 2. I've got Ethan, he's got an invite now. And Hammy, I don't know if I've got him as a friend. Let's see. We'll just invite Roy anyway, just because, you know, he's the boss. If I can't seem to find anyone right now. Right, where are you? There he is. Let's see if we can get him in as well. Waiting to see if we can get any of the drivers in for a quick word before we go. Looks like there's been a bit of a drama in the chat. Somewhere at the start there's been some action here. Josh not happy, Stein not happy, Ethan not happy. Despite winning, not happy because he didn't put enough fuel in, so had to fuel save, which is horrifying news for his rivals and potentially for David, unless he was also fuel saving. So we'll give it a couple of minutes. If we don't get anyone in the party for a quick word, then we'll just call it. But well done all on the first race. Apologies, my first time commentating, so it's a lot harder than it looks, is all I will say about that. But it was an entertaining race to watch, and I hope you got to see enough of it, and yeah, thanks for watching. Okay, we'll call it on time for the party. So, thanks everyone for tuning in. This was MVP, League of MVP, Season 10. This is Race 1. Back next Sunday, same time for Race 2, and we'll see you there.